When you think of performance brands like AMG or BMW M Sport, you often have a great image of what the cars are. But what's a Japanese one that no one really often talks about enough? Or do we see on enough cars? If you're new here, I'm Cars with Ben, that is Nismo. In this video, I'm going to talk about all of the great Nismo cars that have ever been made, potentially some underrated ones, and what we expect to see in the future. So let's deep dive into Nismo. Nismo is a Nissan Motorsports international subdivision of Nissan Motoring, and of course focuses on motorsport and performance oriented cars from the Nissan brand. You would expect there is a higher premium on Nismo cars, much like how AMG and M Sports work. But is it worth it? It was actually founded in 1984 as a result of two people from the motorsport department, which all importantly included their participation in 24-hour Le Mans and the 24 Hours of Daytona. But the sad news is, up until recently, Nismo ceased to be a company in April 2022, being merged with its sister company, Ortec. But actually, Nismo goes further back than that. Back in 1964, there was a company called Prince Motor Company, and they realised they could boost sales by making competitive motorsport versions of their cars. Nismo's first competitive motorsport debut was in 1964 in a race where they released the Skyline. It took positions 2nd and 6th, and in 1984 Nissan decided they wanted to do this again, but merged the two companies with Nissan. Over time this grew and grew into Skylines that we know now, primarily being Nismo. But what other cars actually came out? Nismo made the 350Z, the 370, the GTR, the Duke, the Micra, the Note, the Patrol, Sentra, Silvia, Skyline GTRs, and of 2024, the Aria. But one thing's for sure is that Nismo definitely makes the Nissan brand more interesting. And in this video, we'll talk about Nissan's main attraction, motorsport. In terms of motorsport then, Nismo competed in the Japanese Grand Prix in the 1960s, and then in the IMSA GT Championship with cars like the GTP ZX Turbo. These cars competed in the Le Mans, 12 Hours of Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring. They were long-form racing cars. They then competed in World Sports Prototype Championships, including the R88C being displayed at the Nismo Motorsport facility. The 90s was epic, not forgetting the touring car races with the R32 Calsonic, a very legendary, iconic car. And in the 90s competing with the Nissan Primera, and then in international GT racing using the GTR, which they then went into prototype racing including the LMP1 Hybrid, which is well known for being in Le Mans. Finally using the Nismo name in Formula E Motorsport in the 2022 and 2023 season as Nissan Formula E team. But what are their best? In my opinion, the first car has to be the 350Z. I say the 350Z because it had such an iconic look and style at the time and was also very famous from Fast and Furious. The Nismo R-Tune and the S-Tune GT were really cool, and over time they made different versions like the RS and the Competition. And it was at a time when people didn't really understand what the motorsport division was, which makes it even cool and rarer. Some of which only 300 units were built from 2007 to 2008 for the 380 RS. One car that also pushed Nismo up into the ranks of motorsport divisions, comparing AMG and BMW M cars, was the 370Z. A lot of people will know the 370Z from being around from 2008 up until 2021, and the 370Z was a really popular Nismo car, increasing the price of the original car by 10 grand. It actually started off in 2009 with various different face models, but by the end of its production it looked fantastic. You can actually pick up a 2009 370Z Nismo, but actually a lot cheaper than you think. Just a quick one for me, if you are enjoying this car content and you do like what you see here, I have so much more car content on my channel and please do check it out here. Now it's fair to say one Nismo that not a lot of people even think or care about is the March Nismo, aka the Nissan Micra. What I really love about the March Nismo is that it's such a unique car. Nissan really wanted and cared to put the Nismo brand on such a smaller car that many people typically buy. The March Nismo went on sale in Japan only in December 2013, and with the Nismo S unveiled in the 2014 Tokyo Salon. The Nismo includes a special exterior package, LED lights, and a 16-inch aluminium wheels amongst other modifications. But primarily, they increased the horsepower to 114 horsepower, and this makes this car a little pocket rocket. Yes, interior is pretty much basic and the same, but the exterior looks epic. And it's another reason why I love Nismo. You can't hate on something like this because it is just so cool. Put it this way, when do you ever see an M badge on a really cheap, basic BMW? Another Nismo that you may not even know about is the Patrol Nismo. Upon launching the Nismo brand in the Middle East, Nissan the Patrol Nismo was introduced at the launch event in Dubai, along with the GTR Nismo and the 370Z. And unlike the standard Patrol, the Nismo came with a 5.6 litre V8 428 horsepower engine tuned by Nissan's Craftsman. The suspension was upgraded as well with Bilstein shocks and fitted a 22-inch forged alloy wheels. It might not be to everyone's taste, but it's definitely unique in the brand. Here's another Nismo that I absolutely love. It's the Nismo 270R. The 270R is essentially a Silvia and was a limited edition vehicle developed by Nissan Motorsports in 1994. The vehicle was built on an S14 chassis, but had many enhancements over the Silvia. The 270 is a reference to the horsepower, and of course it's a unique displacement of the engine. It has a vented hood, intercooler, and Nismo Edge aero kits. The heavy-duty clutch was really cool with a limited slip differential and Nismo logo front and rear seats. Of course, all 270 were painted black and had the Nismo 270R badging. Only 30 270Rs were ever known to be in existence, so when you think of a Silvia, it's probably one of the rarest cars out there. Likely, most of them will be in Japan. Now, Nismo's bread and butter was, of course, the GTR. How could I forget? This is where they started in motorsport, and then, of course, made the Nismos as a result of the famous R32 GTR, Calisonic, and continuous of those cars. The R32 GTR was first produced in 1988, including prototype cars, and the first 6 Nismos were built in 1989. Nismo also went into the R33, creating the well-known and famous 400R, one of my favourite Nismos today. A limited edition model created in 1996, the 400R is a very rare and possibly the most special skyline in existence today. This then moved into the third generation, being well known as the R34, and optional Nismo parts were available for the R34, including shock absorbers, various sport suspension, exhaust, and aluminium intercoolers, and much more. And it meant any enthusiast could install the RB26 DET engine to convert their particular skyline. Nissan was just so playful with modification. Nismo made 3 different versions of the GTR R34, the S-Tune, the R-Tune, and the Z-Tune. And now we're getting very specific and anal into cars. Nissan also made the Skyline Nismo 4-door, also known as the RV37 in Japan. And in present day in 2014, we got the Nissan GTR R35 Nismo. Again, another prominent figure when you think of Nismo, but the GTR was an epic car. It was 25 grams lighter than the standard GTR, not that it even needed it because the GTR was great, but they did several different special editions, such as the Spec V, Egoist, Gentleman Edition, Midnight Opal Special Edition, 45th Anniversary, GTR R50, and many, many more. Some of them only in Japan, some of them only for North America. I think you've definitely got to include runners-up like the Duke as well as the Note. They were cars that you just wouldn't expect to be part of the division. And they sold pretty well in the UK. But out of all the 12 Nismo branded consumer vehicles and motorsport vehicles, it's fair to say that there were some great cars in this time, but the Skyline models will always be the best in my opinion. It's a motorsport division that doesn't get spoken about enough. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do like the content, as always, don't forget to subscribe.